Once a cheater, always a cheater. It's a phrase we hear a lot in conversations about relationships and infidelity, but is it actually true? Does cheating once or even multiple times mean that someone will always cheat and that they should be labeled a cheater? As somebody who works a lot in infidelity, I don't believe so. In fact, I think this mindset is actually really harmful to everyone in relationships. It oversimplifies human behavior and really dismisses the possibility for growth and change. And this is really important when we're talking about infidelity because the statistics show it's relatively common in relationships and that a lot of people will deal with this in one form or another in their relationships. Now, statistics on this do vary because this is a really sensitive topic to study. People aren't necessarily always willing to disclose or share this information, so it can be really hard to get an accurate picture, and the statistics will vary. But generally, research shows that approximately 20 to 30% of people in monogamous relationships have reported engaging in infidelity at some point. Now, again, another difficult point about this is infidelity. Cheating is different for every person. What is cheating to one partner in one relationship may not be the same for another. So it can be really challenging to study this, but we know a lot of relationships, a lot of people do experience it. So that's a significant amount of people, 20 to 30%. So this is why I think it's really important to think more deeply about this phrase, once a cheater, always a cheater, which is what we're going to dive into in this video. Hey there, I'm Lauren Consul, a licensed psychotherapist and certified sex therapist, here to help you have more satisfying and secure sex and relationships. The belief that somebody who's cheated will always cheat again in the future assumes that being unfaithful or cheating is an unchangeable character flaw. But this way of thinking is really inaccurate and also really harmful. It just oversimplifies human behavior, turns it into something as black and white, you cheat or you don't cheat, and really undermines the possibility of growth and transformation because people are more than their worst mistakes. Now, while research does show that people who have cheated before are statistically more likely to cheat again, that's not the full picture. And sure, you can take that soundbite and run with it, but that's not doing anyone any favors. It's not helping people in relationships because it just doesn't take into account where people are at in their healing journey, who is more likely to cheat, what work have they actually done, what we're looking at. And just because someone has cheated in the past doesn't mean they're destined to repeat that behavior again in the future. Imagine one of your worst mistakes, if that was something that you are now labeled, that is something that people tell you you're destined to do that again. That doesn't feel really good. That feels icky because we want to believe that we can change and grow, and we can. It takes a lot of work, but if you put in that work, you can be different. So cheating and infidelity is no different than other mistakes that we have made and that we can grow and learn for it. People are not static. They are capable of learning from their mistakes and evolving. Because if this was not true, I would not have a job. I would not be able to do this work because it would be so difficult to continue to talk to people where there is no growth and there is no change. As Esther Perel notes, who is a renowned relationship therapist, she wrote The State of Affairs and Mating and Captivity. She says infidelity is often a symptom of something larger, not a character trait. Now, she really highlights that infidelity can result from a variety of complex factors, such as unmet needs, personal crises, or relational dynamics that are unique to each person and relationship. And I want to be very clear here. This is not an excuse or justification for infidelity. It's about understanding, and understanding is not the same as justifying. People can and do change, and reducing someone's entire identity to this one thing, being a cheater, overlooks their capacity for growth and healing. And this kind of labeling really diminishes the nuances of human behavior and the potential for self-reflection and transformation. I've seen it in my own practice. Individuals can acknowledge their past mistakes, go deeper into the issues that led to those choices, and genuinely work towards becoming better partners and individuals and changing behavior. Cheating doesn't mean that someone is doomed to repeat that behavior if they're willing to take consistent action to address the root causes. One factor in reducing the likelihood of future infidelity is developing relational self-awareness. This is the ability to look at yourself in the context of relationships and reflect on how personal history, personality, and emotions influence behavior. People who lack this self-awareness might deflect responsibility, blaming their partner or external circumstances for their cheating. But those who are really committed to growth take responsibility and show self-compassion while addressing the underlying issues. And this is key. When people confront confront the unmet emotional needs or vulnerabilities that led to the infidelity, they can truly begin to transform. And if they don't, then yeah, it makes sense that they would be more likely to cheat again because they haven't addressed the underlying issues that led to the infidelity. Now, if you're with somebody who has a history of cheating, it's understandable to have concerns. However, it's important not to box them into the label of cheater or not a cheater. Because again, we are all so much more than the mistakes that we've made in our lives. You want to think of it like a scar. It's part of your story. It's part of your potential partner's story, but it doesn't define their whole identity. It doesn't have to be something that is who they are if they've done the work. They've taken care of that wound. They've dressed it. They've cleaned it. And now it's a scar that lives with them rather than a festering, bubbling scar that's living there with them. Rather than jumping to conclusions about a potential partner who has cheated before, engage in open, non-judgmental conversations. Ask questions like, tell me about what happened. What's your understanding of why you cheated? What steps have you taken to address those issues? How have you grown or changed since then? How do you continue to work on yourself? These types of questions really can reveal how much growth, accountability, and self-awareness this partner has developed. And you really want to pay attention to how willing they are to engage with vulnerability as they're sharing and discussing rather than just giving facts, as this is often a strong indicator of their commitment to personal growth and really their emotional awareness and engagement. Now, what if someone has cheated multiple times? Does that then mean that they're inherently untrustworthy or going to cheat again or do deserve the label of cheater? Not necessarily. Sometimes people need to really hit a rock bottom or experience a significant event to truly start to change their behavior. There's a psychologist, Henry Cloud, that says we change our behavior when the pain of staying the same becomes greater than the pain of changing. And I think this really applies here. Repeated infidelity might indicate that someone hasn't done the necessary introspective work earlier. That doesn't mean that they're not capable of it. It just means that at some point they might be able to do that work. Because again, it's not the cheating, even if repeated itself, that defines them. It's their willingness to do the vulnerable work of understanding why it happened and taking meaningful and consistent steps towards growth. So even if you're with a potential partner that says, I've cheated on multiple partners, if they can tell you and discuss and share vulnerably the work that they've done to address that and understanding it, that is very different than saying, I've cheated on multiple partners and I'm not going to do it again. The latter is a lot harder to build trust in because we don't change just because we say we're going to change. We actually have to take steps and action consistently over time to make that change. Ultimately, the phrase, once a cheater, always a cheater, is a harmful oversimplification. It really locks people into a narrative of shame and hopelessness. People are capable of change, even after repeated mistakes, if they're willing to do the hard work of introspection, vulnerability, and personal growth consistently over time. And consistently over time doesn't mean perfection. It means continuing to do the work. And when there's a mistake, when there's a step back, of repairing to help move forward. So what matters most is not whether someone has cheated in the past, but whether they have taken accountability and are actively working to create healthier, more fulfilling relationships moving forward. Change is possible, but it requires this deep work over time. What matters most is not whether someone has cheated in the past, but whether they've taken the accountability and are actively and consistently working to create healthier and more fulfilling relationships moving forward. And that's relationships with others, with themselves, understanding themselves, because change is possible. It just requires a lot of deep, vulnerable, consistent work over time. So instead of just putting people in boxes, you're a cheater or you're not a cheater, because again, we make all kinds of mistakes in our lives and we don't want to just be reduced to this one mistake. We want to be able to take in the nuances of that mistake and how we're learning from it and moving forward. Let me know in the comments below what you think about once a cheater, always a cheater. And if you want more videos on how to have more secure and satisfying sex and relationships, be sure to like and subscribe to my channel.